Hi, I'm Dr. Steve Patton, here to discuss hypertension today. Kind of want to go over some causes of it, what are some ways to reduce your risk factors, and what exactly does hypertension do to the body. First thing I wanted to kind of mention is the magic number 140/90. 140 is the top number, 90 is the bottom number. 140 is called the systolic pressure. The bottom number is called the diastolic pressure. If you see something that's greater than 140 on the top or greater than 90 on the bottom, that's considered hypertension. Normally your doctor is going to check it more than once before they give you the diagnosis of hypertension, but it's something so you can understand. Or in better words, you can say it like this. This is the systolic pressure, or the top number is how much active pressure is when the heart is pumping, and then when the heart is relaxing and not pushing the blood, this is the diastolic pressure, how much pressure is left. So both of these are very important in the disease state of hypertension, and we'll go over some of this in a moment. The next thing I wanted to let you know is you have to understand a few common things to know, which is we have a lot of proteins and things in our blood, which kind of keeps any type of fluid, including blood, in the blood vessels. If we have too much pressure in the blood vessels pushing those proteins out, well, then the proteins will leak, and guess what follows? Those fluid and including blood. Normally this happens where you have the smallest blood vessels, which makes sense. Your smallest blood vessels are the capillaries. Where are capillaries located? Capillaries are located pretty much everywhere. So everywhere you have capillaries is somewhere you can have a problem with too high of a blood pressure. You have capillaries in your brain, that means stroke. Capillaries in your eye, edema in the eye can cause blindness and increased pressure. Got capillaries in your kidneys, chronic kidney disease. Capillaries in your fingers and digits, that's where you get the swelling from. So that's kind of an idea of what's going on here with normal pressure versus high blood pressure. Now I brought my friend Mr. Squishy here, and he will give you a better example of what's going on here. And look like I'm giving him a hard time. Okay, I'm done. So what I wanted to show you here is pretty much all the blood goes from one side of the body, from everywhere, collects over here, goes into the heart, and then it pushes out again. So what is the importance of hypertension and blood pressure? So one thing we can look at first is the effects that it has on the heart. I told you it's like a microvascular disease, which is the small blood vessels. But let's look at the overall picture on the heart first. So I brought my friend here. So this is systolic, and then this is diastolic. I get to rest. So what happens if you have too much pressure on the systolic? If that 140 is too high, what's going to happen? So, all right, you want your biceps and stuff to get big, right? But you don't want your heart to get big, because if your heart gets too big, it actually can't do its job correctly. So it won't be able to pump out blood the way you want it to pump out blood. So then you can start getting ischemia, or lack of blood supply and oxygen to your tissues. Even the heart actually pumps blood to itself too. So if the heart can't squeeze enough to get blood to itself because it's gotten too big, that's another sign. That's called a heart attack, because it can't get blood to the coronary vessels in the heart. And then the other thing is the diastolic pressure. Why is that bottom number, the diastolic pressure, the bottom number, why is that important? The pressure at rest. Well, let's say you pump here, you get your pump going, And then instead of relaxing, I just hold my arm out like this. So now I'm pumping, holding it out like this. Pumping, holding it out like this, right? Now you can see where this is going. Not only are my arms going to get tired, but my heart is definitely going to give out. So the diastolic is that resting pressure. So when we have a high diastolic pressure, that's the same thing as putting additional strain on the heart. So if you have both a high systolic and diastolic, you can kind of see the picture now. So what I wanted to bring out is several of the things that we were talking about before, just so you can get a picture of it. If the pressure is too much where the heart can't pump blood to the body, guess what? That blood backflows, so you can get fluid on your lungs, and that fluid can go backward and cause swelling in your feet and to your hands. Or if the pressure is too high, that's where you get that, like we said before, the stroke, because those proteins start seeping out, and so do the fluids, and it's going to affect your kidneys in the back here, because the kidneys have very small blood vessels too. So think of it, instead of a lake, you have a raging river inside of your body, which is going to cause damage and an increased risk of causing clots and even closing off those blood vessels, kind of similar to the diabetes, because you're getting constant damage, which is constant scarring to the blood vessels, and eventually they close off. One thing I wanted to go over are some of the risk factors with it. First, it can definitely be diet, high salt intake. Same thing here. Remember I was telling you about the proteins in your blood vessels that keeps the fluid in? Well, salt does the same thing, and salt keeps the fluid in, but it's in a bad way, because salt will keep your blood vessels swollen. So normally my patients would tell on themselves, because I normally see a high diastolic pressure. And why do I see a high diastolic pressure? It's because the relaxing pressure is staying like this, because it has so much fluid that's being held on to because of that increased salt, that the diastolic, the bottom number, is staying up rather than the systolic pressure. So you want to try to limit your salt intake at least to 1,500 milligrams of salt a day, because water follows salt. Another thing is weight loss. I know a lot of people that say, well, how much weight can I lose to try to get off this blood pressure? Think about it. If it is because of weight loss or weight gain, about 2 pounds will bring down your blood pressure about 1 mmH, or 1 unit of pressure. So I lost 2 pounds, and it bring it down to about 139. So you can kind of gauge yourself on how you can control your blood pressure with weight. Exercise, you want to do at least 150 minutes of exercise, or 90 minutes of exercise in a given week. That also increase the strength of your heart in a good way, and keep you active and decrease your serious risk of heart attack and stroke. And then you also want to think about smoking. What does smoking do? Pretty much that you know that the nicotine can narrow, just by smoking, it narrows your blood vessels. So what does that do? If you think about it, if I put my finger over a water hose, you get that jet stream. That's the same thing smoking nicotine does. And if you already have high blood pressure and you're smoking, yeah, you ever see what that bad boy does when you putting it at the ground? Yeah, it's not pretty. So if you can stop smoking, definitely stop smoking. The other factor for blood pressure is Normally, people with diabetes have an increased risk for blood pressure as well. Family history plays a role in that too. So if you have siblings or extended family with high blood pressure, it's better to get on it with those things as mentioned before: diet, exercise, weight loss, and not smoking. If you like to drink, for females, it's recommended staying under less than 1 drink a day. For men, it's recommended to stay under 2 drinks a day if you have to. So those are the big things here with blood pressure. That's the importance of taking your blood pressure medicine. If you are on it because you want to keep it controlled, that's the less damage you're going to have in the long run. But if you're not on it, but you have some of those risk factors that we mentioned before, it's time where you can get on it now before you have to think about medication, eating a hard, healthy diet, exercising, weight loss, no smoking, limited drinking, talking about it with your family to see, hey, is this something that I need to worry about in the in our family tree. The other complications that can happen from uncontrolled hypertension, as we discussed before: strokes, heart attacks, kidney disease, chronic swelling, peripheral vascular disease, which is pretty much heart attacks of your legs because they can't get blood supply to your limbs when they need it for demand. So I'm walking and I get real bad muscle cramps, and that's a peripheral vascular disease, which is same thing when the heart needs more oxygen and it can't get it. It's called chest pain, heart attack, ischemia. Same thing is happening to your limbs, so heart attack of the limbs. So I think that covers the basics. Let me know what you think. If you have any additional questions,